James and Gloria Ragan are the proud parents of the Salutatorian of Mary Carroll High School's graduating class of 2011, James Arthur Ragan. James, would you please stand? James was born in Corpus Christi on May 7, 1993. He attended school at Windsor Park Elementary and Baker Middle School. Before entering 8th grade, he was diagnosed with osteosarcoma. During his high school, he faced reconstructive limb salvage surgery, multiple lung surgeries, and years of chemotherapy and physical therapy. In spite of this, he was the president of his class all 4 years, president of Los Imps, and won the terrific Tiger Award. He is a member of the National Honor Society, Student Council, and Student Advisory Committee. He made state finals and National History Day competition 3 years in a row. He was recognized by the Rotary Club and awarded the Masonic Scholarship. He also played varsity golf, so we really can't call him a sandbagger, for all 4 years, and was the inaugural recipient of the Texas Legends Junior Tour's James A. Regan Sportsmanship Award. Most importantly, he does extensive community service, work related towards cancer. He volunteers time to visit other cancer patients to give them hope and strength. He was the Cattle Barons chairman and the speaker and auctioneer at the Sunshine Kids Craig Biggio event. He served as a master of ceremonies for the M.D. Anderson's Living Legend event with Jack Nicklaus and Jim Nance. Finally, he founded the Triumph Over Kid Cancer Foundation to raise money for pediatric sarcoma research. He feels blessed to have had the support and friendship of all the students and faculty at Carroll for the past 4 years. He will attend Rice University in the fall, where he will play golf for the Rice Owls. May I present the Salutatorian of Mary Carroll High School's graduating class of 2011, James Arthur Ragan.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, friends. Thank you. Let me start by thanking our Board of Trustees, Mr. Elliff, Mr. Sashry, our principal, his staff, and most importantly, our teachers, who over the past 4 years have become much more than that. They're our role models, our mentors, and our friends. And I'd especially like to thank all of the guardians and family members who had the love and patience to help us get to this point today. For me, it's been my parents and my extended friends and family, but most importantly, my sister Mecklin. She's been there for me for as long as I can remember. She's truly my best friend. I love you, Sissy. And I also want to thank each of you for coming here today. I can't count on both hands the number of people who said, well, I'd love to come hear you speak, but I can't stand to go to another graduation. You took time out of your Saturday. You could be fishing or working or having a barbecue with your friends and family, but you chose to come here today. And for that, I and all of the other graduates sincerely thank you. You know, there are so many things in life that we take for granted. And it often feels like graduating from high school is one of those things. I mean, high school graduation rates are around 80 to 90%, depending on how you look at it, so why not take it for granted? Well, I didn't know the answer to that question, so I went to try to find out. I started to call people in high school that I didn't know very well to ask them about their life and their struggles through high school, and it was truly one of the most amazing things I've ever done. Did you know that among the Tigers graduating today, there is a person who lost their father to lupus during high school? They lost the care and guidance that a loving father brings. Their families suffer through the financial problems that hit a family when they lose their primary breadwinner. And in spite of that, today, that person is a Carroll Tiger graduate. We have a person graduating today who lived in a home environment with an alcoholic and abusive parent until the parents finally got divorced and left that student with very little guidance at all. And in spite of that, today, that person is a Carroll Tiger graduate. We have a person graduating today whose father lost a good job, and in today's economy, that student had to go find a job and work nearly 40 hours a week in addition to attending school. And in spite of that, today, that person is a Carroll Tiger graduate. We have a student who was stricken with a horrible disease that required painful stem cell transplants and a long period of treatment and recovery. And in spite of that, today, that person is a Carroll Tiger graduate. I could go on and on about the individual stories of each of these graduates. The fact that there are so many young adults who have endured so much and still had the drive to keep up with their schoolwork and do well enough to pass is truly a miracle. So thank you all for taking the time to be here and honor the 2011 graduating class of Carroll High School. And as each name is called out and each person walks across this stage, I wish we could know the personal details of that person's life and the struggles that they went through to be here. But since we can't, please keep in mind that it is much more than a printed piece of paper and a quick handshake. It marks the end of a chapter of the incredible story of a tiger who refused to be bested by adversity and earned the right, thereby, to move on to an even greater chapter of life. As a lot of you may know, I have pediatric bone cancer. It's a particularly wicked cancer that's been a part of my life since just after 7th grade. I don't usually talk about it very much, but I wanted to talk about it with you today because there are some great things that I've learned that I don't think I could have ever fully understood had it not been for cancer. And I want to share them with you because they've become such a great blessing in my life, and I hope that they can become a blessing in yours as well. By the time I got to MD Anderson Cancer Center 2 years ago after I was diagnosed, I had a pretty solid idea that this was unfair. I was being picked on. Why did I have such a sorry lot in life? Well, it took me all of about 2 days at MD Anderson to forget all that and to feel truly blessed for everything that I had in life. I don't care what you think is bad about your life. If you go spend a day at MD Anderson, you will fall down and thank your God for all the blessings in your life. Blessings that for all of the blessings in your life. Blessings that just hours ago you probably wouldn't have even seen. Before I had cancer, I don't really remember going out of my way to do anything nice for someone else. So since I've been at MD Anderson, I try to never refuse to help someone and always try to go out of my way to find someone to help. One of the bad things about pediatric cancer is that as kids get close to dying, people don't come and visit them anymore. I think it's one of those things that people are uncomfortable with, so they avoid it. So when I learned that a friend of mine, who had been at MD Anderson for nearly as long as I had, was dying, and people weren't coming to visit her anymore, I immediately took some time off to go and to be with her. It was overwhelming just to see how happy it made my friend Jana to have some company, to have someone to talk to about Steve Carell in the office and tennis and other things not related to cancer, just teenage stuff. We even planned out her Make-A-Wish trip. She wanted to go to Bora Bora. And I remember we had fun planning the hotels she would stay in and the things that she would do while she was on her trip, even though we both knew she would never be able to take that trip. And afterwards, I understood why people don't like being around a young person who's dying. There's just something horrible about children dying. But I can also tell you that no matter what the cost is to you personally, there is no greater feeling than helping someone who's in a bad situation who has no one else to turn to. So I recommend that as you live your life, you take time out of each week to go out of your way to do something nice for someone who's in a worse situation than you are. I can promise you, you will be stronger, more energetic, more positive, and happier throughout your life if you do that one thing. The second thing that I've learned from cancer is not to judge people. You know, Carroll has an incredibly diverse student body, and I think our diversity is one of our great strengths. But it also has a tendency to push people into groups, and sometimes one group doesn't understand another, so therefore they don't like them or are afraid of them. I remember one time I was in a bathroom at Carroll and a guy came up to me and said, "Are you James Ragan?" Well, I turned around and it was a rough-dressed young man who I thought could have been a gang member. I immediately thought that there was going to be trouble and all of it was going to be mine. He then asked if I had cancer, and I told him yes, and he told me that he did too, and began to ask questions about my portacath and did it hurt when it was implanted. Well, I told him everything I could about my portacath and showed him it implanted in my chest where I received chemotherapy, and told him that they have so many drugs that can help him get through the chemotherapy and survive, and that he would get through it just fine. When he was in the hospital, I took some of my friends to go visit him to let him know that people still cared about it. Most of all, I found a friend that I wouldn't have found had it not been for cancer. So the second thing I want to recommend to you is don't be afraid of people who are different than you. Don't be mean or judgmental towards them. The truth is that on the inside, they probably want the same thing we all want, some security and for someone to be nice to us. So after you cross this stage and take your Carroll Tiger pride out into the world, go out of your way to be nice to people. Because after all we really have in this world is each other. One last thing that cancer has taught me: almost everyone who has the type of cancer I have dies. The 5-year survival rates are a little less than 10%, and they're afraid to tell you what happens after those 5 years. I can tell you that if you get a scan every 2 months, where there's a 9 out of 10 chance that the doctors are going to come back and tell you that you're at the end of your road, you quickly learn to appreciate every minute you have. And I'm not talking about the minutes that you spend healthy, doing things that you love to do. I'm not talking about the minutes that you spend playing for a state championship. I'm not talking about the minutes that you spend out on a date with your girlfriend. I mean every minute. I'm talking about the minutes that you have to fight to walk 10 feet the day after doctors have removed a portion of your leg and replaced it with metal. And you hope that the next day you'll have minutes to try to walk 12 feet. I'm talking about the minutes that you have to do breathing exercises that make your lungs scream the day after doctors have just removed a huge chunk out of your lungs. You truly learn to treasure each minute. And when you treasure something in life, you don't throw them away, you cherish them. Every minute that you have is something that you can spend buying something. If you spend all your nights drinking, you're probably buying a hangover, or an accident, or maybe even something worse. If you spend them watching TV and doing nothing, you're not buying anything bad, but at the same token, you're not buying anything good either, just kind of throwing them away. If you spend them practicing sports or a musical instrument, you might be buying yourself a college activity, or at worst, a lifelong hobby. So I want to recommend to you that you take time out of each day to think about the minutes that you spend here on this earth and to make a conscious decision, a thoughtful decision about what you want to buy with those minutes. And those are the 3 best things that cancer has done for me. And I wanted to share them with you because I figure if you can learn those things without having cancer, you will be much better tigers because of it. I know that I can't count the ways that I'm a better person for having cancer. And when you look at all of the challenges we appear to be facing as graduates, we're going to need to be the best people possible. We have a global economy in tatters, a country bitterly divided over political issues, the Middle East with more unrest than at any time in history, entire countries being torn apart by crime and drugs, and the most insane weather I've ever heard of. It makes me think back to Rodney Dangerfield's speech in the movie Back to School. Go back home, live with your parents. But we can't. We have to keep pushing forward no matter what the hurdles are, just like the Tigers I spoke about at the beginning. We have succeeded in arriving here today, and we will surely succeed in the future, no matter what obstacles are in our way. But I also promise you that if you go out of your way to help others, respect and care for others without regard to whether they are like you or not, and put some thought into the precious minutes that we have and what we're buying with them, then when we get to the end of our lives and that jungle that's set before us, we will know in our hearts that that jungle will never be the same. Because for that time, it was ruled by the most spirited, unrelenting, and majestic Tiger Pride ever, the Carroll graduating class of 2011. Thank you very much, everybody.